Hi guys, surprise, me again. Promised you I'd be back in in the Better Man and Train Spotting video. So as promised, my fun one. I have titled this Vince Vaughn, a Wilson brother, and Will Ferrell, the Aught Screwball or Dudes Rock Cinema. So I am this one is going to feature old school paired with Wedding Crashers. Old school, I believe, I should have looked this up before I did the video, but I believe, just from my knowledge, because I have so much, was 2003. Wedding Crashers, 2006. Now that's just off the top of my head, okay? Because, like, that's how, like, pretty cool I am. I'm kind of an encyclopedia, or even things like this. Um, So old school and Wedding Crashers. I really like the title there. I hope you guys enjoy it because I'm really into it. I thought like I was like that's like pretty gold. That's like treasure right there. You guys are getting some real gold, some real treasure. Thanks for watching. Anyway, so this is the cinema. I talked about the Gen X man in my last one, my favorite generation of man. But this one is the cinema of my generation of man who, yeah, not that hot on. But this is the cinema that shaped the millennial male masculinity and my femininity. And if you're asking how, I couldn't explain it to you, but it just did. It did though. Just go with it. Just be like, yeah, okay, that was profound. Sure. So anyway, getting into it. I have these are like, I have a lot of comfort movies, but it's like really bad. Like I really need the comfort because, as I mentioned in the last video, David Lynch, RIP, the whole city of LA is on fire. My job has become increasingly more difficult with administrative changes and policy and federal fundings and whatnot. Um, but I'm navigating it. I'm getting through it. I'm also like super sick right now. I have an incredible fever, so I don't know if like you can tell if that kind of translates, but feeling like shit. So I really needed to bring out the big guns because I have a lot of comfort movies, but my comfort movies are like um I'm a huge fan of South Korean revenge cinema and like things like that. Like putting on like I Saw the Devil or something is like that's a comfort movie to me. Um things like that. So like I'm bringing out the big guns when I actually do like actual comfort movies like Old School and Wedding Crashers. Um so yeah, breaking out the big guns for this one. I had a lot of fun doing it, and you guys are gonna have a lot of fun watching it. Um, so Old School literally kicks off the first joke, with that taxi driver calling Luke Wilson a gay slur because he asked for a seatbelt. It's like, real men, they're willing to die to prove what they are. And especially when you're about to suffer like the greatest cuckening in cinema history. But that's not actually true. Like I do have to correct myself on that one because if you've seen Peck and Paw's The Getaway, which I highly, highly recommend, that is some of the most like gut-wrenchingly like brutal cucking I've ever seen committed to film. There's really no words. You just have to go watch it. Definitely watch it. Um, Walter Hill Sam Peckinpah movie. It's just it's fucking great, guys. But getting back to the point of it all, what these two movies really show us is that like the millennial male kind of masculinity. It's like these guys they talk a big game and about women, about their lives, whatever. But deep down they're just these kind of sensitive goofs, which is very unlike The Getaway, by the way. So don't like go into it thinking it's like linked to this at all. It's like the opposite of these movies. Great though. But like Peckinpah, um, that cinematic toxic masculinity is just so delicious and sweet. It's a favorite theme of mine. It's what makes movies great. I really believe that deep in my heart and soul. Peckinpah understood. Um, and these movies understand. So they are kind of like Peckinpah in a way. Um, maybe do the triple feature, maybe do old school Wedding Crashers and then really get that whiplash going with the Getaway. Um, but, getting back to old school, we got Vince Vaughn. He's this like brash, lecherous guy, this fucking dude. And, he concocts the whole idea, for his heartbroken, cucked buddy. Let's get a house on college property, so I can adulterate the fuck out of this goddamn place, with barely legal teens, and he's all this big talk, saying most of the stuff with like earmuffed children around, one of which isn't a baby Bjorn on him. Um, but when it comes down to it, he's kind of like the most sympathetic guy because when it comes down to it, he doesn't fuck anyone at all. He can't even go through with it. Underneath it all, he's this clandestine wife guy. That's who he is. And, let's not bring the vibe down. See, look at my throat is like, don't bring the vibe down. I'm sick. I'm sorry. um, I told you. But you know what? Like, not to bring the vibe down, boys. So let's get to our next bro. Let's talk about Luke Wilson in the film, okay? He's supposed to be like the sensitive, sympathetic lead, right? But like right off the bat, he like drunkenly hooks up with his boss's like underage, also inebriated daughter. you know, there's this climactic scene that emerges, when he's trying to like convince his love interest that her current boyfriend is like the real true sex fiend. And here comes this high school lover girl walking, waltzing by in her Catholic schoolgirl uniform. And it's like, yeah, hey, my dad is totally in the dark. It's our little secret, bro. Um, and to clarify, there is no misunderstanding in this scene. He did actually maybe commit some sort of statutory assault here. But you know what? It's like, look, he's Luke Wilson. He's dreamy. He doesn't even have to be sorry about it. She seems fine with it. So, it's cool. It's cool. If that's not the perfect kind of encapsulation of that early 2000s, 2003, this movie came out. It's a dude's world, man. And we should consider ourselves lucky to party in it. Um, there it is. And then we got Will Ferrell. Somehow he's kind of like the most unhinged of them all. Um, he's Frank the Tank. He's Frank the Tank, man. And this sort of facade that he has to uphold, like to be this doting husband who accompanies his wife on a nice little Saturday to Bed Bath and Beyond, it's just got him foaming at the mouth like a caged animal, and into a snore, ball and chain. It's like, look, lady, if you don't let the freak off a leash every once in a while, like, then you're gonna be, you better get used to picking him up, on the side of the road, dick swinging, okay? Like, sometimes, like, being a dude is just letting it all hang out. And God bless that flopping son of a bitch. He does. And he does it for us all. And Jeremy Piven's role in this movie. Oh my God, like he is such a seething psychopath. I think it's his best role. I know most people kind of remember and celebrate his role as Ari Gold in Entourage, but like here he's just at this like most twisted and he's this kind of sick fuck who like jerks off to addendums in like the school catalog. Like, I picture him doing that a lot. And and his this sweetest, most saccharine, succulent teen fantasy is like to live as free as our dudes. But he's kind of like really chained as an innate inner twerp. He's a twerp, he's a creep. And we get to witness that torture as he kind of struggles to bend over for the bottom line here, which is dudes will always rock and nerds will always not. And look, here's the thing. Like, as being a nerd, it's like, okay, you have a lot of nerve, lady. You're like the biggest nerd I've ever met, to talk this way. But you know what? The movie has a point. Life is better as a bro. You know, uh, their parties are always the sickest. They live free, stay weird in this Dionysian delight. And you just can't stay mad at a man. Like, no matter their lack of any regard or repercussions, deep down it's like, it's okay, in dude land, we're all bros. Um, and it's not that deep, man. So just have a good time. Um, But I will say this. I don't think I've ever seen dudes have more bro chemistry than in Wedding Crashers. Wedding Crashers, I fucking love this movie. I gotta say, like the banter is honestly between Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson is just like honestly like I it developed a lot of my cadence. There's no point in lying. I'm not embarrassed about it. Because anyone can really see it if you talk to me. Um and at its root, look, it's men who crash weddings to sleep with girls. And they get with a lot of girls. They conspire, they scheme, they take over, and they steer kind of these most precious moments in people's lives and some hideous deception ritual, for lack of a better word or phrasing. Um, and it's like, I know I'm making these movies sound like, oh, this is such a freak show, such a misogynistic freak show. Um, but, it comes as no surprise. I mean, going with this theme, it's like it comes as no surprise. These men have no respect for the sanctity of marriage. And you know what? Look, as divorce mediators, as you start off the very first scene, we see them doing their job, and I mean, it's so funny. It's such a great scene. And it just kind of sets up like, look, they see nothing but this bitter, jealous death rattle of these kind of once promised fairy tales. And but even this, as they come to find out, is a very disproportionate delusion. And what was once kind of this fun song and dance becomes like kind of this little nagging anxiety as they phenomenally dance towards middle age. So John Beckwith, that's Owen Wilson in the movie. He complains, after a particularly very lush wedding season, he's just like, oh, my voice is hoarse, my feet hurt. All of this performance of lies seems to kind of be extinguishing with the setting sun, after the lush wedding season. Um, but convinced to do one more round by his BFF Jeremy. He's like, look, man, this is the white whale of weddings. So, our boys put their heads together for their best scam yet, and which is going to be like hijacking the social ladder at a senator's wedding. Just for the thrill. Like, see, these guys, it's just for the thrill. It's just to be like, can we do it? And how far can we push it? And you have to respect that. It's a little bit of like this very like it's kind of scary energy. Like it's kind of like, oh, those guys are like kind of like when you really think about it, it's like that's kind of horrifying. It's a little bit like I don't know. Do they have an inner voice? Do they have a conscience? I'm not entirely sure. I love it anyway though. Um and so, they're researched. Except, there's one little mishap with the dead relative, and but look, the slip is on both sides here. Okay, it's like you don't commit to a relative unless you are absolutely sure they have a pulse. But then you know what? A grave mistake was made when it's like, you know what? Didn't get an updated family tree. There are rules. There are rules to this lifestyle, and you best follow them because there are big consequences. There are big consequences. Okay, flying a little bit too close to the sun there, Icarus. You know what I mean? And I will bookend with that, so keep that in mind. These are showmen. These are coxmen, and the best you've ever seen. And they're ready to do some real dicking around. Real dicking around at the senator's wedding. And we get to meet such great characters. We got Todd, and he's Christopher Walken's arty son who makes his painting, and which is righteously Jeremy's gift to keep when you watch the movie. Keep that in mind. Um, we got Bradley Cooper in really the performance of a lifetime. He is so like sinister in this role. Like, talk about scary. He's like horror movie villain shit. And this, like, I don't think I would ever be comfortable in a room with him, like, after watching this. Like, it's just, he is so, like, I don't know, like, just watch it, okay? It is sinister. There's something very evil lurking behind those feral eyes of his. And I love Bradley Cooper. I think he's a great actor. Um, so I say that with a very large amount of love. This is really a performance of a lifetime for him. He's fucking great in this movie. Then we got, Christopher Walken. We got Jane Seymour as this very overly sex trophy wife. Rachel McAdams is great in it. She doesn't kind of fall into these, archetypes or anything. And she really kind of elevates what was likely probably not a very lively character in the script and makes her really, really likable and a really great character. And then we got Isla Fisher, who is great as this really, she's a sexual psychopath. We got a lot of psychopath energy going on in this movie. And she's great. Um, but the greatest character of all is hands down, and stop it right here if you don't want like a huge spoiler, but probably everyone knows it by this point, is Chaz Reinhold. And, because at the time this movie came out, you could still get away with these surprise cameos. No one knew he was in it. When I went to go see this in the mall movie theater by my house, um, with my BFF, at the time I was in high school, and um, when we went to see this, we had no idea Will Ferrell was going to be in this movie. And when they keep mentioning Chaz Reinhold throughout this whole film, you have no idea if he's going to even show up, who he's going to be. And it's great. I wish we could get away with things like that more now. And there wasn't so many spoilers and cameos being spoiled and things like that. Because this just really, really punctuates it when you don't know he's going to be in the movie. And then at the very end, lo and behold, Chaz fucking Reinhold, Will Ferrell, one of his greatest roles. And he's really kind of like I was saying, like the lifeblood and the architect of the film. He's like this disembodied, like savior, like Christ-like figure, kind of like smiling from the heavens as he's like kind of guiding these guys to live their best life. And he even bestows like this like precious Bible. They keep referencing all of these very strict rules because, like any great religion, it requires absolute fidelity, but promises a life of riches. Um, Really, in this movie, it's like the sexually depraved shall inherit the earth. That's what it is. And Chaz is living the dream. He's living the dream when we see him. He lives rent free. He can summon meatloaf, unlimited meatloaf. The whenever he yells it out, it's there. Um, and he fucks any woman he wants. Um, in a way, he is a genius, clad in this silk robe and wielding these sacred nunchucks, and he just looks so fucking cool. And you're just like, that guy, here he is. Here he is in the flesh, Chaz fucking Reinhold, and he's just there's nothing like it. He does nothing and has everything. If you count crashing funerals to take advantage of aggrieved women and living at home with your mom. Uh, if you consider that heaven and everything, then he has it all. So this is just kind of like pitch black. um, Enough of rocket fuel to kind of propel John to get his act together when he meets Chaz, and it's just like, yeah, this is dark. And it's sort of this very delicious space between literal black and white. We got funerals, we got weddings, we got death, we got life, we got dudes, we got rockin'. Um, so, look, this double feature is something that brings me back to being this very bright-eyed teenager I once was, imagining a world where dude and bro, I mean, where I grew up, these were gender neutral terms, man. Like I grew up in Southern California. Dude, bro, you can refer to anybody as that. And it's like people rocked, when you said dudes rock, bros rock, that person, my dude, my bro. is people, man. And people rocked. And you can put these films on, and our dudes are still rocking, flying so close to the sun, but too exhilarated by the early 2000s freedom. The flight, mm, just bless them. Bless them, bless these movies before their wings melt. I told you I'd get back to Icarus. I told you I would link these back to mythology. But anyway, um, check this double feature out. These are great comfort movies, especially for, people millennials and older. Um, if you're younger, you might not find them so palatable. But it's just a snapshot. Look, comedy is not one of those things that necessarily is something that should age well, that does age well. There's always going to be things of each generation that you kind of look at and you're like, okay, that was what it was. Um, but at the end of the day, like I said, it's just these movies are so fun. They're so funny. It has just a generation of these kind of movie comedians and movie comedic actors at the top of their fucking game. And it's just these are two great movies. Definitely recommend to check them out. I have physical copies of both, by the way, and old school. I just want to bring this up. Old school. I actually, because I went down to Target and bought this like right after it came out, and I was like in really early high school, and it's full screen. It's like so such a time capsule watching that in full screen. Um, but I own these physical media copies, but not everyone is as lucky. So I definitely recommend checking these out, streaming these. They're so fun, man, and dudes rock. People rock. Thanks for watching.